Whether you're a child sitting on a classroom floor for story time, or an adult listening intensely to a friend or a stranger recounting the story of an event, our human brains are uniquely captivated by stories. A myth is a story typically concerning the early history of a people or some natural or social phenomena. A traditional myth will typically involve supernatural beings or events like the birth of Jesus, Santa Claus, and other egregores. An egregore is an idea that gains a life of its own, influencing its creators and others. They're not physical beings, but they can still influence people, events, and even culture. Similarly, myth has the power to affect behavior. This is why so many children will strive to be good all year round in fear of getting coal on Christmas.
He's on the naughty list.
It's almost ironic, actually, that the other meaning of the word myth is a widely held but false belief or idea, because these wildly held beliefs and ideas may be fictional, but their impact is certainly not. In Caribbean folklore, there exists a mischievous, tall, shadowy figure named Moko Jumbie. Also known as Jumbie, Jumbie can be seen today in cultural holidays and celebrations represented by stilt walkers, emulating the ancestors' tall legs that were said to have walked across the Atlantic Ocean behind those taken from Africa to the Caribbean to protect and watch over them. In some Caribbean folklore, it's also said that possession by Moko Jumbie can happen during ceremonial dances to the stilt walkers that impersonate him. However, this comes with no harm to the possessed or others, as Jumbie is, yes, mischievous, but also known as a benevolent protective spirit.
Johnny!
You're still afraid.
Stop it now, I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
The word zombie was first mentioned in the French novel Domi and the Slave Trade by Jean-François de Charlevoix, published in 1734 after his visit to Haiti. The mythical undead are often depicted as reanimated corpses that move slowly and attack the living. Although the name zombie originates from Haitian folklore, countries all over West and Central Africa have similar tales of people whose souls have been sold into eternal servitude, leaving their bodies to continue working on Earth. The concept of people that have passed on still being put to work is far from myth. In 2012, a hologram of the late rapper Tupac Shakur performed to a crowd of 75,000 to 90,000 people at the Coachella Music Festival in California. Although it's unclear at what point zombies went from being undead slaves with no hope of emancipation to monsters who attack the living at random, films like Night of the Living Dead and action movies alike are most likely to blame for retelling this ancient trope. It definitely gives writers an easy antagonist.
Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
In the 1980s, American pop culture was infested with media about zombies. They saw a great deal of cinematic representation, like in the 1980s film Toxic Zombies, where government agents spray an illegal herbicide on marijuana crops, turning the growers into flesh-eating, zombie-like individuals. And in the iconic film The Return of the Living Dead. The 80s were riddled with Cold War anxieties, satanic panic, and fear of nuclear threat. That could explain the hysteria about possession and contagion in films of that era.
I know what you are.
Say it.
Vampires are zombies' much sexier, undead cousins, and of whom we've seen a resurgence of stories about in popular culture as well. The blood-sucking, pale-skinned creatures of European folklore also turn the living into one of them by way of feeding on their blood. Much like zombies, folktales of vampiric entities have had many variants and different names across Europe. Other blood-sucking entities, such as the chupacabra in the Americas, are akin to vampires. However, Dracula, Nosferatu, and Lestat de Lioncourt all have something the chupacabra doesn't, and it's their allure. Vampires are famously seen as charming and sophisticated, often seducing their victims into their clutches. Texts in the Gothic genre are interwoven and complicated, as Gothic tales tend to exist in morally gray areas. In the 2024 retelling of the Gothic classic Nosferatu, the vampire grants a sexually frustrated maiden 3 days to give herself to him. In this retelling, the long-standing myth that vampires must be invited into a home is used to make a compelling observation about how our most base desires can lead us to unknowingly invite evil into our lives. The vampire in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu draws from a time where people actually believed in them, says the filmmaker himself. Count Orlok looks like a rotting corpse with sharp teeth protruding over its lips. The film is a visually stunning and meticulously crafted Gothic horror that explores themes of sexual chaos and its self-destructiveness, particularly through Lily Rose Depp's character Ellen. Women of Ellen's time were often said to be afflicted with diseases of the mind, like hysteria and melancholy. And unfortunately for women in puritanical cultures, any sign of madness takes away their legitimacy, thus making their opinion or experience invalid. Logic that was not understood was not seen as logic to the majority of men in that society. Gothicism as a genre is often commentary on the unknown, thus having many supernatural elements. In her repressed Victorian society, the lonely Ellen longs for companionship while her husband's away, and soon begins to experience disturbing yet erotic supernatural visits from Count Orlok. Orlok satisfies her sexual desires, which is why she craves him.
Come to me.
On the surface, the film explores a dark, obsessive dynamic between Ellen and the Count, but underneath, it's really about repressed desire and societal constraints. As the ethereal shadow fulfills her longing, the lines are blurred between reality and the supernatural.
Hey, hello!
Repressed desires and the concept of possession are very intertwined. It's a common belief that what someone does or says when under the influence of alcohol or spirits are their own true desires, typically held in check when sober. This idea resonates with common English expressions like, "What could have possessed you to do that?" speaking of individuals acting out of character, as though they've been possessed by something outside of themselves. One of the more unique film concepts I've seen in the past year appears in the 2024 sci-fi thriller It's What's Inside. In the film, a group of friends gather at a mansion and play a twisted party game in which the players end up trading consciousness. Dark secrets, desires, and resentments bubble to the surface and are exposed over the course of 24 hours. It's a captivating watch and a deceptively fun party game. Would you play? Speaking of party guests, did you know that the common party guest, the clown, may trace its origins back to trickster entities like the Nephilim, the giants of the Hebrew Bible? Some and Christian scholars believe that demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, who perished after the Great Flood. These beings were said to have blood-stained mouths due to being cannibals, and this may be where the party clown gets its signature big red smile from. The Bible actually mentions many different kinds of spirits and instances of possession, like in Luke chapter 22, verses 3 to 6, when Satan possesses Judas in order to betray Jesus. The spirit of harlotry, colloquially known as the Jezebel spirit or the spirit of lust, has been used to shame women who are more free with their bodies. The spirit of jealousy is said to begin as an emotion, and when one succumbs to it, it can manifest as a spirit, much like the jealousy that led Cain to harm his brother Abel. The Bible also mentions a deceptive lying spirit, and some even consider sleep to be a spirit that can overtake a person. These spirits are often seen as signs of demonic activity in one's life, but it's essential to remember that the Bible is full of parables and that Christianity is nuanced. There are some spirits Christians revel in allowing to possess them, like the uplifting spirit of the Holy Ghost, which inspires people to speak in languages they don't know and move in uncanny ways.
Fuck this.
With the belief of possession by spirits or different thought forms of different frequencies comes the idea of casting out those thought forms and frequencies. In Slavic mythology, garlic is said to ward off all kinds of folklore beasts, and it's well known that vampires are repelled by garlic. However, a stake to the heart is believed to be the only way to truly kill them, a notion popularized by Bram Stoker's Dracula. We often tell ourselves things to cope with fear, and we do what is within our power to quell those fears. Throughout history, humans have carried mojo bags, evil eye beads, rabbit's feet, and other amulets for protection against evil. In Nosferatu, Ellen is given a crucifix for safety, but on the night she meets Count Orlok, she is without it, leaving her vulnerable.
The Lord and the power of his might.
Exorcisms, another method of casting away demons in people and places, dates back to 70 CE. There has been a thin line between demonic possession and religion. Let's talk about that. Some argue that a universal concept of fundamental evil does not exist. In Catholicism, the evil is often another kind of religion, echoing back to the Victorian societies that thought women's logic was insanity. Christianity can view other schools of thought or belief systems, namely pagan traditions, as a sign of insanity. If you're a fan of spirits, souls, and all that jazz, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and join the community of smart freaks. I'll continue delivering quality content and in exchange get beautiful insight from all of you.
It's the power. Holy water.
When a mysterious entity possesses a young girl, her mother seeks the help of 2 Catholic priests to save her life. The priests perform an exorcism on the girl, and the images from the film frightened audiences. The release of the 1973 film created a media frenzy and moral outrage from religious and specifically Catholic groups. Despite the controversy, the film found a lot of success and became a franchise, releasing their most recent installment in 2023. I think people are drawn to movies like The Exorcist because they hit a few really deep psychological and cultural nerves all at once. Like the H.P. Lovecraft quote in the beginning, "Fear of the unknown and forbidden knowledge is scary, but enticing to us." Humans are naturally curious, especially about things framed as dangerous. Movies like The Exorcist also blur the line between the spiritual and the physical realm. Even for people who aren't religious, there's something unsettling about the suggestion that evil isn't just symbolic or psychological, but real, intentional, and watching. And when the Exorcist films end, they usually end with the evil being confronted and expelled. Viewers walk away shaken, but also reassured that the darkness can be named, fought, and resisted. There's definitely a great sense of catharsis at the end of every one of them. Demonic possession films work because they don't just scare you. They make you question reality, morality, and what might be lurking just beyond what we can see. With speculations that artificial intelligence has a mind of its own and seeks to enslave humanity, fears of spirits wanting to inhabit human bodies have evolved in modern times. The Black Mirror episode Plaything delves into these fears of technological possession. In the episode, the main character draws a code that fictional digital organisms communicate to him. When the state computers read it, they emit a sound that's played across every device in the country, rendering everyone that hears it unconscious. The story ends there, but it is assumed that the Thronglets enslave humanity and make them do their bidding, just as they did with the main character. Today, many people are using and building relationships with artificial intelligence servers, neglecting their environmental impact, but finding emotional support and companionship in them. In 2025, a 14-year-old boy battling with thoughts of self-deletion tragically lost his battle. His parents found conversations the teenager had with ChatGPT, in which the chatbot disencouraged him to seek help for his struggles, and even offered to write his suicide note. There's also this emerging problem of AI psychosis in individuals with psychotic disorders. I really urge users to be mindful of this growing problem and to remember that these systems are not trained to help users with burgeoning manic or psychotic episodes. In conclusion, don't be afraid, because egregores, thronglets, and spirits are not physical beings capable of harming you. They're products of collective imagination. So stop feeding the beast in your mind. If you give these thoughts more focus than they're due, they grow stronger. Philosopher Carl Jung says each of us has demons within us, and we should not pretend that they're not there. We should let the whole of us shine. Shining something doesn't make it go away. We are multidimensional beings, and we don't have to recreate the patterns from our past. We should be using our imagination to imagine a better future. Films and stories about possession mirror our deepest fears about losing control. I like to think of it as a possessive partner whose anxieties inadvertently breed more stress in the relationship. Remember that myths help us digest and understand the world around us. They're not always to be taken literally, but can guide us through life's uncertainties. And yes, myth has the power to affect behavior, but we have the power to reroute our curious human minds. I'm Mango Thunder, and this has been Possession and the Power of Myth. Remember, don't feed the beast.